Jule, I am excited for the work that you're doing. And there's a lot that I want to ask you about the region that you serve, which is Las Vegas. Because I remember there was a time a few years ago where everybody was moving to Nevada. It was like a gold rush to Nevada. I'm sure that there's a huge community over there to serve in terms of matchmaking. Is that the case?
Yes. And thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here
First.
speaking with you. Yes. And I was one of those that moved here originally from Los Angeles. And I will say there's a huge drive here as far as professionals and successful professionals that are here. And so that's basically the clientele that I serve are successful singles that are relationship ready.
And the reason I wanted to start there is because I think that people act like Vegas is one thing, the strip and whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But there is this huge influx of professional, and that's why I wanted to start there because I think people get confused about that. So I didn't realize that you moved from Los Angeles. So you grew up in LA?
I did. I grew up
Okay.
in LA, and then I've been here in Las Vegas now for 8 years. So I'm pretty familiar now locally, and you're right. There is actually 2 lives you can live here. There's the strip life if you're looking for the party and you're looking for the fun and the entertainment. Of course, we have that. Las Vegas is known for that. But outside of that, where the locals are, it's just a regular life, as it would be anywhere else. Us locals, I can't even think. I'm trying to remember the last time I've gone to the Strip. I think the only time we go is when we have visitors that
Oh,
come here.
right.
Of course, they want to they want to see the Strip and things like that, and so it's constantly growing, but you can have both. You can have the quote unquote "regular life," or you can have that party style lifestyle, so it just depends on what you're looking for here.
I also would imagine that being that there's such a constant influx of people that you are practically part of the welcoming committee because if somebody moves there for business and they don't have friends or ways to meet someone, I think a logical thing, if you're a professional, you just moved to a town, would be to contact your local matchmaker, Jule Segura at Loveology 101, because how else are you gonna meet people?
Absolutely, because people are looking for that personal relationship. We have technology, and don't get me wrong, technology is great. It does open up a world that we may not have had before, but now there are positives. I do say dating apps and technology, it's a tool to assist you with your life. And so I know some people have dating app fatigue, and I understand that because before I got married, I did go that route. I ended up meeting my husband in a different way, but I did do the dating apps and I was fatigued. It was kind of discouraging, but when you know how to properly navigate the dating apps, there is success there because I do know people who have met their partner through dating apps. Technology is something that we can combine, especially within matchmaking, because people come to a matchmaker for a more personable, intentional way of dating.
Yeah, and I also think that if you're working with a matchmaker and you're using technology as well, the matchmaker can give you professional feedback and for lack of a better way to say this, it helps you get you out of your own way because I think people are very quick to throw people away. And I remember when I was a matchmaker many years ago, the first thing I would do was to look through people's trash to see who they threw out because when you have this plethora of options, you then take things for granted. And that's what I love about matchmaking. You have a filter, a human that will actually vet everyone. And so we were just talking about how it could be awkward for you if you're used to going on dates to learn about your potential match on the date. You're now working with a matchmaker. You actually now have to focus on having a great time, being open, being personable, And it's more about you and your personality and not you investigating someone. There is a bit of an adjustment that people have to make when they work with the matchmaker because now the matchmaker has already done the vetting to ensure that people are qualified to meet you before you show up. The thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is about you going into matchmaking. And it's been such an interesting series talking to all the various matchmakers that are like these incredible professionals who have these amazing backgrounds. And so I'm very curious, what were you doing before you became a matchmaker for the audience to hear? Because I know, and what drew you to it?
So I come from a corporate background. I was a technical writer for about 20 years, and I worked for some of the most amazing companies. And it's so funny because I even think about it myself as far as my road to becoming a matchmaker. Of course, I didn't grow up thinking like, "Oh, one day I wanna be a matchmaker," you know?
Sure.
But I've always really been into relationships, but one of the things that kinda drove me into the business is I was looking just being around my tight circle of friends and family, and I'm looking at all of these successful singles, men and women, who are relationship ready and are constantly wondering, where are the men? Where are the women? Thinking, all of these successful people around me, and they're literally ready for a relationship, ready to settle down. And they were not able to find their partners. They were tired of the dating scene and just tired of the dating apps. And I started down a rabbit hole of research on what is going on? Like, why are we no longer finding people? You would think we have so much, even including technology. It puts us in front of so many people, gives us access to so many people all over the world. And yet we still have this challenge of finding the right person. And so that kind of pushed me into why is this happening? I believe one of the first searches I looked up was how many singles are there in the United States? That was like I think my first search. And it's in the millions. And when I should say unmarried. That's what I actually looked up. And unmarried meaning single, divorced, or widowed. And it was in the millions. I mean, and and again, because of my circle of people, there was just they didn't know where to go, they didn't know what to do and where to find, so I just kind of wanted to be that one to come up with the solution to help people find their partners, help them find love. That's what got me into it. Most of the time as matchmakers, we start out thinking, "Oh, I love love. I just wanna be Cupid and help people find love," and that works, especially in the beginning, but it's so much more to it matchmaking than that, and that's what I've learned too as I've been building in this business now, that it's so much more than just, "I love love."
And that's a interesting story and not uncommon. Either people were in their own search and struggling and wanted to do something about it, or they just noticed a bunch of people because you were already in a relationship, married at the time you became a
Yes.
matchmaker. What surprised you the most in starting a matchmaking business?
I would say one of the things that were surprising is that there are so many successful people, again, that they're successful in their careers, they're successful in their lives, a lot of attractive, beautiful, and yet they haven't been as successful in dating. And so you look at people and you see their success and you see that they're beautiful and you see that you think they have everything going for themselves. But here's an area in which they need help. I think that was the most shocking for me. Just because you're successful in a lot of things, it doesn't mean that you have it all. You would think that, wow, that person isn't able to find person that they need. It looks like they have everything. They have it all. How come they're not able to? So I think that was one of the things that was shocking for me in coming into matchmaking.
That's such a great point, and with women and with men, where it's like, "Oh my god, you're so beautiful and you have your act together. Why aren't you in a relationship?" And it's like, well, first of all, it's somewhat offensive to hear that I know I've been on the receiving end of that when I was single, but also it's not that straightforward because a lot goes into finding a mate, a suitable mate. And I think there's a bigger struggle right now, and I'm curious what your thoughts on that. But I also think that people don't know how to communicate anymore. COVID really set people back. The younger generation or being able to approach one another, all of that. So I'm curious what you're seeing out there because you're in the trenches.
I agree with what you're saying. I also, especially as far as communication, people don't know how to communicate. And then also really being intentional about what you're saying you want. If you're wanting to be with someone, you have to go outside. You have to actually go out and be intentional. A lot of times we'll go out, we're going out. I was just recently telling a friend of mine because she was like, "Oh, I go out with my friends and guys don't approach." Well, most men don't feel comfortable, I should say. I'll say some don't feel comfortable approaching a woman when she has a group of friends around her, you know? And so it's okay to go out by yourself. And when you are out, be aware of your surroundings. Don't bury yourself in your phone because, in that sense, and I know I've even been guilty of when I'm going out and I'm waiting for something, I'm looking in my phone. That makes you not look approachable. You look too busy. You look so. I think when you're saying you're single and you're actually ready to mingle, you need to be more intentional about that. Go out, be seen. No one's gonna come knocking at your door. People can't see you in the house, so go out, be seen. Start joining groups and organizations. Find yourself doing hobbies that you actually like and start being more social. Even if you're introverted, there's a way where you can still socialize in a way that's comfortable for you. Y You want to go out and pay attention to what's around you so that you are able to appear approachable. There's so many ways that we can communicate without body language communicates. Just looking around and smiling makes you more approachable.
Yeah. Well, just bringing this back to the matchmaker aspect of things. If someone approached you today and said, "Hey, Jewel, I'm seriously considering starting a matchmaking business," what advice would you give them?
One of the things that I would say is listening. Listening is one of the most important things to matchmaking. Having empathy. A lot of times people hire matchmakers not necessarily because they cannot find a person. They're looking for a matchmaker to guide them in a way of helping them find what they're actually looking for. Because, like you just previously said, we are filtering out and doing all of that for them. So that's what they're looking for. So, as a matchmaker, you need to be able to listen, you need to be able to understand, have empathy, be ready to communicate. And when I talk about communicating, there's times where you have to possibly tell someone something that they don't want to hear. And so that's one of the things that I've learned also in this business, that you may have to tell someone, hey, you're trusting me to help guide you. This is where there needs to be more growth. And they may not want to hear that. And you can't be afraid to, as the professional, you can't be afraid to say that to them because you're bettering them so that they're open up their eyes. And that's what they're really coming to you for as a matchmaker.
I agree with everything that you said. Where do you see this industry going? In the time that you've been in it, have you seen a change in where the industry is going?
I see that people are more open to matchmaking. I have seen that matchmaking is actually growing in a lot of the major cities in the US because people are wanting that personal touch. They're wanting that intentional human interaction with someone because of the dating fatigue and the online dating. They're just tired. And so I really see the technology and the human experience coming together more because people still want that. They still want to be able to speak with a human being because it's more personable, especially in this type of industry, because they're sharing a very personal part of their lives. Like I said, technology is not going anywhere, but I really see in the future more collaboration with the two. That's what I see, especially for matchmaking.
Speaking of collaboration, I'm not sure if you have had the opportunity to collaborate with other matchmakers. There are still some significant challenges when it comes to collaboration. And so I'm curious, what's been your experience with that?
I think being clear with communication, because each matchmaker has their way of doing things, the way that they're running their business. So I think it's important up front to be clear. And when you're speaking about collaboration, you're talking about two people bringing their business together to help singles. And so it's very important to be clear up front. And that's something that I've learned being mentored by you, of course, that it's important to have your contracts and things like that where we're clear on how things are going to work moving forward. And I am fairly new to the industry in that sense. And so I haven't had many challenges with collaborating because I have collaborated with a few. I would say maybe only one or two that we had some differences, but just in the way that we did things. And once we had clarity, it was fine because ultimately we're trying to help our clients, right? And so it's just a certain way that we do things. And I think that if we mention it up front and get clarity up front, then everything ends up working out. We're all here for the same reason, and that's to help singles.
Amen to that. I so
Mhm.
agree with you. Speaking of mentoring and training and that kind of thing, do you see the value in matchmakers actually getting training, particularly when you're starting a business? Because we all know there is no barrier to entry. Anybody can start a matchmaking company. I'll be the first one to say you don't have to have the training. I started my business before I had any training whatsoever. But do you feel that there's a benefit to that?
Absolutely. For me, it definitely was beneficial because, like I said, we come in thinking, I love and I just want to set everyone up and I hope I help them find their one. That usually is what gets us here. So there is that aspect, which is great, but the training is what helps you learn how to actually do a matchmaking business because it is a specialty business and it is a business. So it has to be, you have to be taught how to professionally set up that business. And so for me, it was golden getting the training that I needed. Again, I was trained under you. And so I've learned so much. I found it to be extremely beneficial, one of the best investments I have ever made for my business because of the fact when you come in, you just don't know because you're just not thinking of it in a business way. We're oftentimes thinking with our emotions and how we want to help people. But it is a business that has to be structured because you're not only protecting yourself, you're also protecting your clients. And you need to learn how to properly do that in the most ethical and legal way. And so I often would recommend if I were speaking with any new matchmaker, that would be the first thing that I would tell them to do while they're setting up their business is to get proper training that they need.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I wasn't even thinking about me and my training. I was just thinking in general because for a long time, people have traditionally just started matchmaking businesses without training. And I was one of them. There's so much that goes into it. And to your point, it's a specialty business. So when you talk about sales, for example, when you translate it into matchmaking, there's some nuances, not just the emotional aspect of it with dealing with a dater, but also from a legal perspective. If you're
Mhm.
talking about testimonials or claims, claiming to have a certain amount of success, there's a level of scrutiny that people don't realize. And then when you're a new person with no training, you copy what the big name matchmakers are doing, thinking that's the right thing to do, and then you come to find out that, "Oh my gosh, I can't do that. Doesn't fit for me." And every business is run differently because there's no uniform way of doing things either. I was just curious what your thoughts were as a newer matchmaker, still a rock star. I mean, the fact that you're new.
Yes, and it also helps give confidence,
Mm.
right? Especially when you're a new matchmaker and you're dealing with clients for the first time. It brings confidence because you already know what to do. Like I said, it's more than just matching someone with someone you think is great for them. It's it's a process. You learn the onboarding process and what that means. You know what and how to actually protect and how to match. So all of it goes hand in hand. You learn more about how to properly introduce people. And then you also learn the behind the scenes part of it with getting paperwork and contracts and things together, making sure the proper things are in place so that it moves smoothly. You want to try to work in a way where it works for your business as well as for your clients because you are doing things in a very professional way. It gives you that confidence, and it also makes your clients feel like, "Okay." It gives them relief as well. So, I definitely think it's I would say a requirement for people to get the proper training.
I do love that because we all want everyone to respect this industry, and professionalizing it is the only way that that's going to happen. So you sort of alluded to this, but I want to make sure it is clear. Who are your ideal clients?
So, my ideal clients are successful, relationship-ready singles. I work with ages 30 and above, and one of the things that I enjoy with such a range is that aside from everyone feeling like they're relationship ready, it comes with different needs and wants. And so I've learned a lot from those that may be younger to more seasoned singles who are ready to find the partner that they're wanting to have. And so we all have our different needs, we all have our preferences. And so I am here to help and assist with that.
And I'm so glad you made that distinction, and I think that's part of the competency that you have, where you understand that the advice you're going to give a younger person is not the same. Someone who wants to get married and have children is not the same as someone who's divorced with grown kids. And that kind of competency is such a critical thing when you're working with a matchmaker, that they understand where you are so they can meet you where you are. So thank you for the work that you're doing, Joel. I'm
Thank
so excited for
you.
your career and your business. And where is the best place for people to find you?
They can find me at loveology101.com. And they can also find me on LinkedIn, Jule Segura, as well as Facebook and in 101. So thank you so much for having me here, Arlene.
It's my pleasure. And thank you so much for sharing about your career.